Nabawas na turbulence ang isang eroplano habang lumilipad ito sa himpapawid.
Nasa ligtas na kalagayan kaya ang mga sakay ng aircraft at saan naman dapat papunta ang crew. Aalamin po natin yan mula sa mga detalye ng balitang ibabahagi maya-maya. Magandang gabi, ako po si Ricky Matay.
Na Richie Alagaw Flores, ito ang mata ng Agila International. Para naman sa mga headlines ngayong Huwebes ng gabi.
Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. nanawagan sa ibang ASEAN member states na i-fast-track ang ASEAN-China Code of Conduct.
Bilang ng mga Pilipinong nagsasabing sila ay mahirap, pumalo na sa 16.3 million ayon sa isang survey.
President Lai Ching-te pinaglaban ang kasarinlan ng Taiwan sa National Day.
Higit sa 3 milyong kabahayan sa Florida walang kuryente dahil kay Hurricane Milton.
At Taylor Swift at iba pang mga artist tumulong para sa mga biktima ng Hurricane Milton. Hinimok ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. ang ibang ASEAN member states na i-fast-track ang ASEAN-China Code of Conduct para magbunga ng magandang progreso ang issue sa South China Sea.
Binigyan din ni PBBM na hindi dapat ipagwalang-bahala ang tensyon sa lugar kundi ito ay dapat pahupain. Sa isinagawang 27th ASEAN-China Summit sa Lao, muling ipinunto ni Pangulong Marcos ang kahalagahan ng pagkakaroon ng konsensus para sa Code of Conduct. Tinukoy ni Marcos Jr. na agresibong kilos ng China sa lugar ay isang katunayan na pagwawalang-bahala sa international law at standards. Partikular na rito ang United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea o UNCLOS at ang 1972 Convention on the International Regulations for Preventing Collision at Sea o COLREGS. Sa kabila ng patuloy na harassment ng Beijing sa rehiyon, ay muli namang pinagtibay ng Pangulo ang commitment ng Pilipinas sa pagpapalalim at pagpapalawig ng ASEAN-China relations sa pamamagitan ng komprehensibong pamamaraan. Tumanggi namang ibahagi ni Pangulong Marcos Jr. ang natalakay sa closed session. Anya, bahala na raw ang chairperson ng session kung ito man ay isa sa publiko.
Hinimok ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. ang kanyang mga kapwa-lider sa Timog Silangang Asya na mamuhunan sa matibay na mga proteksyon sa cybersecurity. Sa ika-44 na ASEAN Summit, binigyan diin ni Pangulong Marcos na ang digital economy ay isa sa mga mahahalagang haligi para sa pakikipag-ugnayan ng ASEAN. Ipinaliwanag niya na ang Digital Economy Framework Agreement ng ASEAN ay inaasahang magpapalago sa digital economy ng rehiyon hanggang sa $2 trilyong pagsapit ng taong 2030. Dahil dito, sinabi niyang napakahalaga para sa mga bansa sa Timog Silangang Asyang mamuhunan sa matibay na proteksyon sa cybersecurity. Hinimok din ni Pangulong Marcos ang ASEAN na buuin ang kabuuang digital infrastructure upang matiyak ang landas ng bloc patungo sa pagiging ika-4 na pinakamalaking ekonomiya sa buong mundo.
Ayon kay Senate President Francis Escudero, marami ang dapat linawin sa kasalukuyang espionage law, kabilang na rito ang mga probisyon na dapat i-apply sa panahong walang digmaan. Hiniling na kasi ng sandatahang lakas ng Pilipinas sa Senado na amyendahan ang espionage law. Tinukoy din ni Escudero na malinaw dapat ang nakasaad sa mga dokumento at impormasyon ng gobyerno, lalo na kung ano ang dapat maikokonsiderang top secret at hindi pwedeng ilabas sa publiko. Samantala, naghain na ng panukala si Senador Jinggoy Estrada para amyendahan ang ilang probisyon ng espionage law. Ito ay sa ilalim ng Commonwealth Act 616. Ayon kay Estrada, sa kasalukuyang batas, 2,000 hanggang 30,000 lamang ang multa at 30 taong pagkakakulong ang parusa sa mapapatunayang sangkot sa paniniktik. Subalit, ang isinusulong ng mambabatas ay itaas ang multa sa 1 milyong piso. Nais din ni Estrada na isama ang paggamit ng advanced technology at cybersecurity sa nasabing espionage.
Humigit kumulang nasa 16.3 na milyong mga Pilipino ang nagsasabing sila ay naghihirap. Ayon po yan sa resulta ng survey ng Social Weather Stations o SWS. Ayon sa nakalap na datos ng SWS, pumalo sa 59% ang naitalang bahagdan ng self-rated poverty rate nitong Setyembre. Mas mataas ito kumpara sa naitalang 58% noong Hunyo. Samantala, napag-alamang ang pinakamataas na porsyento na nagsasabing sila ay mahirap ay sa Mindanao na 67%. Sinundan naman ito ng 62% sa Visayas, 55% sa Balance Luzon at 52% sa Metro Manila.
Nagbabala ang Department of Foreign Affairs o DFA tungkol sa isang bagong modus ng human trafficking na tinatarget ang mga Filipina upang dalhin sa Cambodia para maging surrogate mother. Kinumpirma ng Philippine Embassy sa Cambodia na nailigtas ng Cambodian National Police ang 20 biktima ng scheme na ito sa Kandal Province noong nakaraang buwan. Batay sa paunang investigasyon, ang mga kababaihan ay na-recruit online ng isang tao na hindi pa natutukoy ang pagkakakilanlan at nasyonalidad. Ang recruiter na ito ang nag-ayos ng kanilang pagbiyahe sa iba't ibang bansa sa Timog Silangang Asya, ngunit sa huli, sila ay dinala sa Cambodia kung saan ipinagbabawal ang surrogacy. Muling pinaalalahanan ng DFA ang mga Pilipino na mag-ingat sa mga online recruiter at dumaan sa mga kinakailangang proseso ng Department of Migrant Workers o DMW bago magtrabaho sa ibang bansa.
Hindi dapat mangamba ang mga residente sa Metro Manila dahil ayon po mismo sa PHIVOLCS, ang kalidad ng hangin sa nasabing lugar ay hindi naaapektuhan ng aktibidad ng Bulkang Taal. Nilinaw ng PHIVOLCS na ang smog na naobserbahan sa Metro Manila ngayong araw ng Huwebes ay dahil sa anthropogenic pollutants at hindi volcanic smog o VOG na mula sa Bulkang Taal. Batay sa visual monitoring ng ahensya, ang VOG ay nananatiling nasa ibabaw ng Taal Caldera Region. Nagkaroon ng minor phreatic eruption ng Bulkang Taal kaninang 7:21 ng umaga at umabot ito sa taas sa 2.8 kilometers.
Nako, good news po para sa lahat. Magsisimula na bukas, araw ng Biyernes, ang pagbebenta ng bigas sa halagang 43 piso kada kilo sa lahat ng Kadiwa Store sa Pangulo sites sa Luzon. Ayon sa Department of Agriculture o DA, ang 2 pisong pagbaba ng presyo ng well-milled rice sa mga Kadiwa stores ay dahil sa pagbaba ng presyo ng bigas sa merkado. Anila, ang average na presyo ng locally produced regular at well-milled rice ay nasa 45 piso hanggang 48 piso kada kilo, habang ang imported rice naman ay ibinebenta sa halagang 42 piso hanggang 45 piso kada kilo. Dagdag ng DA, 13 hanggang 20% na mas mababa lagi ang presyo ng mga Kadiwa products. Kaya plano ng ahensya na magdagdag ng 20 Kadiwa sites na handang magbenta ng mas murang bigas sa publiko kumpara sa ibinebentang bigas sa merkado.
Susunod, Presidente ng Taiwan ipinaglaban ang kasarinlan ng bansa sa kanilang National Day.
Leader ng South Korea at Japan magpupulong sa sidelines ng ASEAN Summit.
At halos 80 katao patay sa patuloy na pagsalakay ng Israel sa Lebanon at Gaza. Mga detalye ng mga balita sa pagbabalik na Mata ng Agila International.
This portion is brought to you by 318 Automart.
Why choose Supreme Pure Organic Barley? It is 100% pure organic barley straight from Australia. Certified super brands. The first alkaline-based barley in the Philippines. High pH level, 7.9 alkaline level, 68 micronutrients, non-acidic. It helps boost immune system, improves digestion, high in antioxidants, regulates blood sugar level and cholesterol. Waglan Basta Barley. Dapat alkaline-based Supreme Pure Organic Barley.
This Sunday on Cine Throwback.
between these two great drivers.
42 days after his near-fatal accident, Niki Lauda will race here today.
This Sunday, 12 noon, here on NET25.
Let's net together. So NET25.
Sa kanyang talumpati ay sinabi ni Lai Ching-te na walang karapatan ng China na tumayo bilang representante ng Taiwan sa harap ng international community.
民族自由在这块土地上成长茁壮。中华人民共和国无权代表台湾。身为总统，我的使命是维护国家生存发展，团结2300万台湾人民，并且坚持国家主权不容侵犯并吞。
Ang talumpati ni Lai Ching-te sa National Day ng Taiwan bilang presidente ng bansa ay may temang Taiwan Together for Our Shared Dream. Pinagtibay niya ang matatag ngunit malumanay na posisyon ng Taipei ukol sa usaping pag-iisa ng Beijing at Taiwan. Iginiit din ni Lai na ang kanyang bansa na may formal na pangalang Republic of China at ang People's Republic of China ay hindi magkaugnay sa isa't isa. Sa aspeto naman ng seguridad ay naninindigan ang kanyang bansa na ipatutupad ang 4 Pillars of Peace Action Plan na patuloy pa nilang pinapalago sa kabila ng sunod-sunod na banta ng Chinese military sa kanilang kasarinlan.
我们希望中国回应国际社会的期待，能够发挥影响力，和世界各国共同努力，结束俄乌战争和中东冲突。 也和台湾一起承担国际责任，对区域和全球的和平、安全与繁荣做出贡献。在国际形势越混乱的时代，台湾将更沉稳，是以自信与茁壮，成为区域和平稳定与繁荣的力量。
Sa dulo ay pinahayag din naman ni Lai na bukas makipagtulungan ang kanyang bansa sa China sa aspeto ng climate change, pagpigil sa paglaganap ng mga potensyal na pandemya at ang pagpapanatili ng seguridad ng rehiyon upang matiyak ang kaunlaran ng mga bansa sa Asia.
台湾有决心致力维护台海的和平稳定，成就全球的安全和繁荣，也愿意和中国共同应对气候变迁。 防堵传染病，以及维护区域安全，追求和平共荣，为两岸人民带来福祉。
Isang lalaki ang sinampahan ng kaso kaugnay sa sexual assault at pagpatay sa isang trainee doctor sa lungsod ng Kolkata, India matapos ang halos 2 buwang protesta na nagpahinto sa medical service sa West Bengal. Iniulat ng Central Bureau of Investigation o CBI na ang lalaki ay nakikipag-inuman kasama ang isang kaibigan noong hapon ng Agosto 8 at bumalik naman sa RG Kar Medical College and Hospital sa Kolkata. Pagdating sa ospital ay doon niya natagpuan ang babaeng doktor na natutulog sa isang kutsyon. Kinabukasan, natagpuan ang katawan ng doktor na may mga sugat at senyales ng panghahalay sa isang seminar hall ng ospital. Sinampahan na po ng CBI ng kaso ang lalaki na isang civic volunteer ng Kolkata Police sa ilalim ng mga seksyon ng batas ng India na may kinalaman sa sexual assault at murder.
Nakaschedule na magkita sina South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol at Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba sa kanilang kauna-unahang pagpupulong ngayong Huwebes sa Laos. Ang pagpupulong ay magaganap sa sidelines ng ASEAN Summit sa kabisera ng Laos na Vientiane. Sina President Yoon at Prime Minister Ishiba ay unang nag-usap sa telepono noong nakaraang linggo at nagkasundong makikipagsanib puwersa sa Estados Unidos upang tumugon sa mga banta ng North Korea. Sa kasalukuyan, wala pang detalyeng inilalabas mula sa parehong bansa hinggil sa nalalapit na pagpupulong.
Noong Miyerkules, dumaan si Hurricane Milton sa kanlurang Cuba. Nag-iwan si Milton ng mga kalye at mga bahay na lubog sa baha bago lumapag sa Florida. Sean Davila para sa report.
Paglisan ni Bagyong Milton mula Cuba, nagsimulang magsuri ang mga residente ng baybaying bayan ng Surgidero de Batabano kung gaano ang pinsala ng nagdaang bagyo. Ang bayang ito ay nasa kanlurang isla ng Caribbean. Sa Havana, naitala ang malalakas na alon noong Miyerkules ng umaga. Para sa mga residente ng Surgidero de Batabano, tulad ni Yuneski Machado, wala silang ibang magagawa kundi ang matutong mabuhay sa kabila ng mga kalamidad.
Aquí lo que es que sobrevivir y resistir a lo que venga. No hay de otro. Porque desgraciadamente lo que nos dicen es que no hay materiales, no hay de nada, no hay para reparar nada. Que la economía está en el piso. Hay que seguir aguantando aquí y esperar más ciclones. ¿Qué vamos a hacer?
Para naman kay Ariel Garcia, sanay na siya sa mga ganitong mga pagbaha.
Ya, estoy adaptado ya. Yo desde que nací vivo aquí. Estoy adaptado a eso. No. Esto es una situación que es cuando el tiempo está malo. Mientras no tenemos este problema, pero ahora lo tenemos.
Tumaas na Category 5 si Milton mula tropical storm bago pa man ang 24 oras. Ayon sa mga eksperto, ito ay dahil sa mainit na tubig ng Gulf of Mexico. Ayon sa National Hurricane Center's advisory, ibinaba ito sa Category 4 subalit may hangin na may lakas na 241 km/h. Inaasahang mananatiling mapanganib ang bagyo sa paglapag nito sa Florida at sinasabing mag-iiwan ng malasakunang pinsala at kawalan ng kuryente sa loob ng maraming araw. Sean Davila para sa mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Patuloy pa rin ang malawakang opensiba ng Israel laban sa Lebanon at Gaza. Sa katimugang bahagi ng Lebanon, 5 paramedic ang napatay sa isang airstrike ng Israel. At ayon sa mga healthcare practitioners, sadyang tinarget ng Israel ang mga medical facilities sa lugar. Marinamang itinanggi ng Israel ang akusasyon na ito, ngunit higit sa 100 paramedic na ang napatay ng IDF sa loob ng taon. Karamihan dito ay naitala lamang noong nakaraang 2 linggo. Mahigit 9 na tao pang nasawi sa ibang bahagi ng Lebanon, 5 sa bayan ng Wardanieh at 4 sa rehiyon ng Baalbek. Samantala, pinagpapatuloy rin ng militar ng Israel ang pagsalakay nito sa hilagang Gaza kung saan mahigit sa 60 Palestino na ang nasawi ngayong araw.
Inanunsyo ng Israel ang kanilang matagumpay na pagpaslang sa 2 miyembro ng Hezbollah matapos ang isang airstrike sa Golan Heights. Sa kabila nito ay iniulat naman ng state media ng Syria na kumitil din ng 7 sibilyan at habang sugatan naman ang 11 pa ang isa pang pag-atake na isinagawa ng Israel sa Damascus. Ang Israel ay nagsasagawa ng daan-daang airstrikes laban sa kalapit nitong bansa mula pa noong sumiklab ang digmaang sibil sa Syria noong taong 2011. Ang mga pagsalakay at pag-asinta sa mga hukbo ng gobyerno ng Iran, pati na rin ang mga kaalyadong militanteng puwersa nito ang naging pangunahing prioridad ng Israel magmula noong magsagawa ang Iran ng isang large-scale airstrike sa kanilang bansa.
Noong Miyerkules, sinabi ni Israeli Ambassador to the UN, Danny Danon, na kung nais ng Hezbollah na kumalma ang sitwasyon, kailangan itong tumigil sa pag-atake at umatras na sa laban. Ayon kay Israeli Ambassador to the UN, Danny Danon, 2 bagay ang kailangan gawin ng Hezbollah kung hangad nito ang deeskalasyon. Una, agarang ihinto ang pag-atake sa mga komunidad ng mga sibilyan. Pangalawa, umatras na at magtungo sa hilaga ng Litani River. Ito anya ay ayon sa UN Resolution 1701 na inadapt ng Security Council taong 2006.
Hezbollah wants the situation to de-escalate. It's very simple. They have to do 2 things. First, they must immediately stop shelling our civilian communities. Second, Hezbollah must withdraw to the north of the Litani River in accordance with UN Resolution 1701, was adopted here in the Security Council in 2006. Until that happens, Israel will continue our operations to degrade Hezbollah's terror network. We found a lot of weapons in the bunkers next to our border, and we will do whatever it takes to secure our people and enable the 70,000 displaced Israelis to return home safely.
Giit ni Danon hindi hangad ng Israel na manatili sa Lebanon. Anyang maaari lamang gumawa nito ay ang Lebanese military at UNIFIL. Subalit kailangan anya ng mga tao ng lakas at abilidad na tiyaking hindi makakabalik ang Hezbollah sa dating mga lugar. Tinutukoy ni Danon ng UN Peacekeeping Mission ang pansamantalang puwersa ng ahensya sa Lebanon. Samantala, nagbabala rin si Danon na gaganti ang Israel dahil sa pag-atake ng Iran.
As we stated earlier, Israel will retaliate for the attack, and I want to make it clear, it was the largest attack in history. What we experienced last week coming from Iran. We will choose the locations. It will be painful for the Iranian regime. Thank you very much.
Noong Miyerkules, sinabi ng top United Nations official sa Lebanon na nasa hapag pa rin ang isang US at French-led na panawagan. Ito ay para sa isang 21-day truce sa pagitan ng Israel at Hezbollah. Kasabay nito ang pagtulak rin niya ng daan na maipatupad ng isang resolusyon ng UN Security Council na anya ay sinalansangan ng kapwa partido. Raisa Manghilit po para sa balita.
Isang UN peacekeeping mission na may mandato ng Security Council Resolution 1701 ang inadopt noong 2006. Ito ay upang tulungan ng Lebanese Army na panatilihing malayo sa armas o armadong personnel bukod sa mga taga-estado ng Lebanon ang southern border nito sa Israel. Nagdulot ang resolusyon na ito ng iringan sa pagitan ng Israel ang Iran-backed Hezbollah na siyang kumokontrol ng southern Lebanon. Lahat ng partido ay hindi maaaring tumawid sa Blue Line o isang UN map na linya na naghihiwalay sa Lebanon at Israel at sa Golan Heights na okupado ng Israel. Ayon sa UN Special Coordinator for Lebanon, Jenin Hennes Basher, kailangan ng malinaw ng gabay kung paano ipapatupad ng bawat partido ang Resolution 1701.
We need a realistic roadmap for the implementation by both sides of United Nations Security Council Resolution 1701, and this must include clear implementation and enforcement mechanisms. At the end of the day, it is the lack or non-implementation even of Resolution 1701 over the past 18 years that led to today's harsh reality. And thirdly, in parallel, we need to see the Lebanese state come back into the equation. The government has been vocal in its support for a ceasefire, and the Lebanese government has indeed voiced its commitment to the full implementation of Resolution 1701, and rightly so. But I cannot overstate, a united, empowered, and equipped Lebanese state will prove critical.
Anumang pagbabago sa resolusyon ay kinakailangan gawa ng 15-member Security Council at isang ayunan ng dalawang panig. Samantala, nananatili ang UN peacekeepers sa southern Lebanon. Ito ay sa kabila ng pagpapaalis sa kanila ng Israel nang tumawid ang mga ito ng border upang targetin ang mga militanteng Hezbollah. Sinabi naman ng Hezbollah na napigilan nila ang paglusob ng Israeli forces. Noong nakaraang buwan, nagmungkahi ang France at US ng 21-day ceasefire. Sa kabila nito, patuloy ang pambobomba ng Israel sa Beirut na ikinamatay ng matagal ng hepe ng Hezbollah na si Hassan Nasrallah.
The joint call for a 21-day ceasefire as launched by the US or led by the US and France, I think is still on the table and very relevant. So we should not dismiss it. I don't think that new initiatives will add to it. I mean, the many appeals and calls for ceasefire are crystal clear. We need a window for diplomatic efforts to succeed.
Raisa Manghilit para sa mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Noong Miyerkules, makitid na ikinatalo ng Saudi Arabia na makakuha ng pwesto sa United Nations Human Rights Council. Ito ay dagok sa pagnanais ng Riyadh na isulong ang reputasyong pangkarapatan ng bansa sa mundo. Ito ay dapat na taon matapos tanggihan ng konseho na may 47 miyembro ang pagnanais na pagsali ng Saudi noong taong 2020. Si JC Yumul para sa report.
Kasalukuyang gumugugol ang Saudi Arabia ng bilyon-bilyon upang baguhin ang imahe nito sa mundo. Mula sa isang bansang kilala sa labis na kahigpitan at mga sinasabing pang-aabuso sa karapatang pantao, nais ng Saudi na makilala ito bilang isang tourism at entertainment hub. Ito ay sa ilalim ng planong inilunsad ni Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salam na kilala bilang Vision 2030. Ang mga miyembro ng Geneva-based Human Rights Council ay binoboto ng 193 members UN General Assembly sa New York at sa isang secret ballot base sa geographical groups na tinitiyak sa patas na representasyon. Ang grupo ng Asia Pacific kung saan nabibilang ang Saudi Arabia ang naglaban-laban ng mahigpit noong Miyerkules. 6 na kandidato ang naglaban para sa 5 pwesto. Pumasok ang Marshall Islands na panlima na may 124 votes. Natalo nito ang 7 boto ng Saudi Arabia na nakakuha ng 117 votes. Ang bagong mga miyembro ng konseho ay magsisimula ng kanilang termino sa Enero 1 ng taong 2025.
The following 18 states have thus been elected members of the Human Rights Council for a 3-year term of office beginning on 1st January 2025. Benin, the national state of Bolivia, Colombia, Cyprus, Czechia, Democratic Republic of Congo, Ethiopia, Gambia, Iceland, Kenya, Marshall Islands, Mexico, North Macedonia, Qatar, Republic of Korea, Spain, Switzerland, Thailand. I congratulate the states which have been elected members of the Human Rights Council, and I thank the tellers for the assistance in this election. The General Assembly has thus concluded its consideration of sub-item C of Agenda Item 115. The meeting is adjourned.
JC Yumul para sa mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Kinutya ni United States Ambassador to the UN Linda Thomas-Greenfield ng Israel dahil sa tila kawalan nito ng aksyon upang maibsan ang lumalalang kondisyon ng mga Palestinians sa Gaza.
The United States is concerned by the situation in northern Gaza, including the announcement by Israel of a new evacuation order for several communities. We're particularly concerned that Palestinian civilians have nowhere safe to go. Already there are devastating reports of the squalid conditions in the humanitarian zone in southern and central Gaza, where more than 1.5 million displaced civilians have fled. These catastrophic conditions were predicted months ago and yet have still not been addressed. That must change, and now. We call on Israel to take urgent steps to do so. And I reiterate the United States' expectation that Palestinian civilians, including those evacuated from the north, be permitted to return to their communities and rebuild. Consistent with Resolution 2735, there must be no demographic or territorial change in the Gaza Strip, including any actions that reduce the territory of Gaza.
Sa pagpupulong ng United Nations Security Council sa nakarang araw ay hinikayat ito ang Israel na baguhin ang kanilang pamamaraan ng pakikitungo sa Gaza upang hindi na madagdagan pa ang paghihirap na dinaranas ng mga Palestino. Pinuntarya rin ito ang gawain ng Israeli Defense Force o IDF na limitahin ang supply ng tulong na pumapasok sa naturang rehiyon. Tumanggap na ng kaliwat kanang batikos ang Israeli Army matapos maglabas ng evacuation order sa mga sibilyang nag-uusig sa kanilang lisanin ang hilagang bahagi ng kanilang rehiyon. Iginiit ng Council na dapat hayaan ng mga sundalo ang mga komunidad na makabangon mula sa nangyaring kaguluhan.
We are also concerned by recent action by the Israeli government to limit the delivery of goods into Gaza. When combined with new bureaucratic limits placed on humanitarian goods arriving from Jordan and the closure of most border crossings in recent weeks, these restrictions would only have the effect of intensifying suffering in Gaza. We need to see fewer barriers to the delivery of aid, not more of them.
Nakapag-usap na si US President Joe Biden at Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu sa kabila ng umiigting na tensyon nila ng Iran. Ito ang unang pag-uusap ng dalawang magkaalyado mula noong Agosto nung isinulong ni Biden ang importansya ng pagkakaroon ng ceasefire sa pagitan ng Israel at Hamas. Napapanahon naman ito sa pagsibol ng hidwaan ng Israel at Hezbollah, pati na rin ang isinasagawang large-scale airstrike ng Iran sa kanilang teritoryo. Ayon naman kay White House Press Secretary Karen Jean-Pierre, naging direkta ang Estados Unidos sa layo nitong magresulta sa pagsang-ayon ng Israel sa tuluyang tigil putukan sa kanilang mga kalapit bansa.
Let me just give you a couple of top lines on the call. It lasted about 30 minutes. It was 30 minutes long. It was direct. It was productive. Obviously, the call that the president had with the Prime Minister of Israel. As you all know, the U.S. and the Israeli government have had discussion since last week. Certainly since after the Iran attack. And so those discussions continued with the president and the Prime Minister.
Sa kabila nito ay nagbanta naman si Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant na magiging lethal, precise and surprising ang pinaplanong paghihiganti ng Israel sa Iran.
וכמו שעשינו עד עכשיו במלחמה בכל הגזרות האחרות, מי שתוקף אותנו ייפגע וישלם מחיר. התקיפה שלנו תהיה קטלנית, מדויקת ובעיקר מפתיעה. הם לא יבינו מה קרה ואיך קרה, הם יראו את התוצאות.
Kasalukuyang nasa piit ng kaguluhan ng Middle East habang inaantay ng mga katabing bansa ng Israel ang magiging tugon ng Tel Aviv sa isinagawang pag-atake ng Iran dito na ginawa naman ng Iran bilang pagtatanggol sa pagsalakay ng Israel sa Lebanon. Nangako din si Netanyahu na pagbabayarin niya ang Tehran sa kanilang pag-atake na nagsisilbing senyales naman sa pagpapalaganap ng mas malaking digmaan sa rehiyon.
עכשיו אתם ראיתם את ההתקפות שהאיראנים תקפו אותנו לפני זמן קצר. ההתקפות האלה היו אגרסיביות, אבל ההתקפות האלה נכשלו כי הן לא היו התקפות מדויקות.
Noong Miyerkules, sinabi naman ng White House na nababahala na ang administrasyon ni US President Joe Biden sakaling totoo man ang ulat na nag-usap na may 7 beses na dating Pangulong Donald Trump at Russian President Vladimir Putin. Sinasabing ang mga pag-uusap na ito ay wala nang maaalis sa pwesto si Trump noong 2020. Narito po ang report ni Myla Simbulan.
Sa kanyang aklat na War, binanggit ni US journalist Bob Woodward ang isang hindi pinangalanang Trump aide na nagsabing maaaring nakapag-usap ng halos 7 beses sina Donald Trump at Vladimir Putin nang lisaning ng dating presidente ang White House noong 2021. Ang impormasyon ay batay sa paglalagom ng Washington Post sa aklat ni Woodward. Ngunit sinabi ni White House spokesperson Karine Jean-Pierre na hindi niya makukumpirma ang mga pag-uusap.
Quickly on another topic, on the reporting in that book that the former President Trump spoke with Vladimir Putin at least 7 times since leaving office, is that appropriate?
So look, we're not aware of those calls. I certainly can't confirm any of those calls from here. But if it is indeed true, are we concerned? Do we have serious concerns? Yes. If it is true. Again, I cannot confirm any of those calls. Let's not forget, it is concerning, especially when we know the former president was lobbying against more aid for Ukraine to defend themselves against Russia's aggression. So, if true, it is concerning, but again, I want to be really clear, I cannot confirm any of these calls.
Samantala, ukol naman sa pag-uusap ni Pangulong Biden at ni Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, sinabi ni Jean-Pierre na ito ay walang paligoy-ligoy at makabuluhan. Dagdag ni Jean-Pierre, kasama sa napag-usapan ng leader ay ang posibilidad na pag-atake sa Iran. Ito anya ay tumagal ng 30 minuto.
Let me just give you a couple of top lines on the call. It lasted about 30 minutes. It was 30 minutes long. It was direct. It was productive. Obviously, the call that the President had with the Prime Minister of Israel.
May nasimbulan para sa mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Mahigit sa 370 milyong mga kababaihan ngayon sa buong mundo ang biktima ng karahasang sexual. Ayon sa United Nations Children's Fund o UNICEF, isa sa kada 8 kababaihan ang nakakaranas ng sexual na karahasan bago ito umabot sa 18 taong gulang. Umakyat pa ang naturang bilang sa mga sumunod na taon papunta sa 650 milyon o isa sa kada 5 babae. Kasunod ito ng lumabas na resulta mula sa survey noong 2010 hanggang 2022 na kanilang ginawa sa 120 mga bansa. Ilan sa mga halimbawa ng non-contact ay ang online o verbal abuse na isa sa mga pangunahing problema na lumabas sa survey na kanilang isinagawa. Bukod rito ay nasa 240 milyon hanggang 310 milyon naman na kalalakihan ang nakararanas din ng sexual na pang-aabuso mula sa kanilang kabataan. Karamihan sa mga sexual na karahasan na ito ay nangyayari habang sila ay lumalaki sa pagitan ng edad na 14 at 17. Iginiit ng UNICEF na ang mga datos na nakuha ay nagpapakita na dapat maaksyonan ang lumalalang bilang ng mga biktima. Kabilang sa mga aksyon na ito ay ang pagpapatibay ng batas at pagtuturo sa mga bata na makilala at masabi sa mga otoridad ang anumang sexual na pang-aabuso.
Sinabi naman ng Seoul's Defense Minister na mukhang nakikipaglaban ang mga sundalo ng North Korea kasama ang puwersa ng Russia sa Ukraine. Ayon kay Jim Yong-hun, mataas ang posibilidad na ang 6 na sundalo ng Pyongyang ay namatay sa Donetsk noong October 3. Ito po ay matapos tamaan ng missile mula sa Ukraine ang nasabing lugar. Binanggit pa ni Kim na asahan na magpapadala pa ng karagdagang sundalo ang North Korea sa Russia upang tulungan ng Moscow na makipagdigma sa Kyiv. Matatandaang may military alliance ang Russia at North Korea upang protektahan ang kanilang mga teritoryo.
Susunod, online influencers nag-away dahil sa $70,000 na pabuya para habulin ang Hurricane Milton.
Spotify sinimulan na ang free streaming option sa South Korea.
At Taylor Swift at ilang iba pang mga artist tumulong para sa hurricane relief sa Estados Unidos. Yan at iba pang mga balita sa pagbabalik pa rin ng Mata ng Agila International.
This portion is brought to you by Robic Builders.
Alam namin ang iyong pagsisikap. Dama namin ang iyong mga sakripisyo. Kita namin ang pagharap mo sa bawat pagsubok. Kaya sa kabila ng mga hamon ng buhay, nandito kami para umalalay. Kasi katulad mo, gusto rin namin ang magandang bukas para sa kanya. Hatid namin ang dekalidad na edukasyon at makabagong pasilidad sa abot kayang halaga. Kaya huwag ka na mangamba. Sasamahan ka namin tuparin ang mga pangarap niya. Maaasahan mong sulit dito ang mga pinagsikapan mo. Sa aming mga makabagong pasilidad at sistema ng edukasyon. Ilalabas natin ang aking talino at mga kakayahan niya. kahit sa munting halaga, makakasiguro ka na makakasabay siya sa mabilis na pag-ikot ng mundo. Sa New Era, karamay mo kami sa bawat hamon. Kaagapay mo kami sa bawat hakbang. Kasama mo kami sa bawat ngiti at tagumpay.
This portion is brought to you by North Luzon Express Terminal.
Nawala ng kuryente ang higit sa 3 milyong mga bahay sa Florida matapos ang paglandfall ng Hurricane Milton sa Tampa Bay area. Batay sa huling ulat ng National Weather Service, humina si Milton kung saan mula Category 5 storm nang dumating ito sa Florida ay nag-downgrade ito bilang Category 1. Ayon sa lokal na ulat, nasa 125 kabahayan ang nasira matapos tangayin na malakas na hangin ni Milton. Patuloy namang inaalam na lokal na pamahalaan ng Florida ang kabuuang bilang ng danyos at nasawi sa pagsaranta ng bagyo. Baha pa rin ang ilang lugar sa Florida kung saan ay patuloy naman ang rescue and relief efforts ng kanilang lokal na pamahalaan. Inaasahang babaybayin ni Milton ang daang patungong Atlantic Ocean kung saan tatamaan naman ito ang Orlando area. Halos 2 linggo na ang nakakalipas nang dumaan ang Hurricane Helene sa lugar kung saan pumatay naman ito ng hindi bababa sa 230 katao sa katimugang bahagi ng lugar.
Napiko naman ang cake streamer na si Mike Smalls Jr. sa sikat na influencer na si Adrian Ross matapos sabihan na hindi niya matatanggap ang premyo para sa paghahabol sa Hurricane Milton. Sinundan ni Mike Smalls Jr. ang Hurricane Milton sa Florida matapos umanong mangako ni Adrian Ross ng $70,000 sa mga content creators na kayang mag-live stream sa kalagitnaan ng bagyo. Dahil rito, nagtayo siya ng tent at naglatag ng isang air mattress si Smalls sa Tampa Bay, Florida matapos abisuhan ng mga otoridad ang mga residente doon na lumikas. Ngunit matapos sabihin ni Adrian Ross na wala talagang premyo na naghihintay para sa kanya, nagalit si Mike Smalls Jr. at nagsimulang batikusin si Ross. Sinabi ni Mike Smalls Jr. or JR na niloko siya ni Ross habang isinugal niya ang kanyang buhay para lamang mapakain ang kanyang pamilya. Nilinaw ni Adrian Ross na ang premyo ay para sa 2 partikular na streamers at hindi para kay Mike Smalls Jr. Sinabi na lamang ni Ross sa kanya at sa iba pang mga streamers na humahabol pa sa Hurricane Milton na umuwi na.
Matapang namang pinasok ng grupo ng mga researchers ng National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration o NOAA ang loob ng mata ng Hurricane Milton. Habang sakay ng isang special aircraft na kilala sa tawag na Miss Piggy ay nakaranas ng malakas na turbulence ang crew ng NOAA habang dumaraan ito sa storm wall ni Milton. Makalipas ang turbulence ay dito na ipinakita ng grupo ang radar na nakarating na sila sa loob ng Hurricane Milton. Kanila ring ipinakita ang mapayapang himpapawid sa mata ng bagyo. Ayon sa NOAA, nasa Category 4 pa ang Milton nang isinagawa ng grupo ang kanilang misyon.
Isa sanang fur-effect escape ang gagawin ng isang aso mula sa kanyang bahay nang hindi na ito makalabas dahil sa stuck siya sa gate sa kanyang kabataan o katabaan. Nako. Nakita na lamang ni Steven Morando ang chunky dog na hindi na makaalis mula sa kanyang pwesto matapos subukang lumusot sa awang ng gate. Dito na lumapit si Morando para kawalan ang chubby na Staffordshire Bull Terrier. Makikita sa video na kasama ng itim na chunky dog ang isang puting American Bulldog para magbigay ng emotional support sa kanya. Unti-unti namang tinulak, papabalik ni Morando ang aso at tiniyak na hindi na ito muling lulusot pa. Naging viral ang video na ito kung saan umani ito ng 327,000 views sa TikTok. Nagkasundo ngayon ang Amazon at Apple na dalhin ang Apple TV at ang mga palabas nito sa Prime Video. Naglalaman ang kasunduan ng add-on subscription gaya ng mayroon sa Max, Paramount Plus, AMC Plus at iba pang streaming options. Nagkakahalaga naman ang Apple TV Plus ng $9.99 kada buwan kung saan ay ang mga users ay maaaring mapanood ang lahat ng palabas sa Prime Video app. Ibinahagi ito ng Prime Video Chief na si Mike Hopkins sa kanyang interview sa Bloomberg Screen Time Conference. Anya, ito ay isa sa mga hakbang nila na makapagbigay ng natatanging serbisyo ng series at pelikula para sa kanilang viewers. Samantala, mapapanood sa Apple TV Plus ang mga series na gaya ng Ted Lasso, Slow Horses, The Morning Show at Severance.
Pumanaw na po si Ratan Tata, ang dating chairperson ng Indian conglomerate na Tata Sons nitong Miyerkules ng gabi sa isang ospital sa Mumbai sa edad na 86. Si Ratan Tata ay na-admit sa Breach Candy Hospital sa Mumbai nitong linggo lamang. Agara naglabas ng pahayag noon si Tata matapos nito at sinabi na walang dapat ikabahala tungkol sa kanyang kalusugan. Gayunpaman, kinumpirma ng kasalukuyang chairperson ng Tata Sons na sina Rajan Chandrasekaran ang pagpanaw ni Tata, subalit hindi naman nabigay ng detalye hinggil sa pagkamatay nito. Sumali si Ratan Tata sa Tata Group noong taong 1961 at pinalitan si JRD Tata bilang chairperson ng Tata Sons noong taong 1991. Ang Tata Group ay binubuo ng halos 100 kumpanya, kabilang na ang pinakamalaking automaker sa India at ang pinakamalaking pribadong steel company.
Sinimulan na ng music streaming platform na Spotify ang kanilang freemium business model offer sa South Korea. Ayon sa Spotify, layo ng free music at podcast service option na palakasin ang koneksyon ng platform sa global audience sa pamamagitan ng Korean music, kabilang na dito ang K-pop. Pwedeng mag-sign up ang mga Spotify users sa South Korea ng libreng account para maka-avail ng freemium offers ng platform. Taong 2021 nang inilunsad ang Spotify sa South Korea, kung saan ang average monthly streams ng mga artist doon ay nasa higit 5.8 billion streams.
Isang Nepalese na teenager naman po ang nag-break ng world record bilang pinakabatang mountaineer na nakaabot sa tuktok ng 14 na pinakamataas na bundok sa mundo. Narating ni Nima Rinji Sherpa, 18 taong gulang, ang tuktok ng Mount Shishapangma sa Tibet bandang alas 6 ng umaga noong Miyerkules. At dahil dito, naging bahagi siya ng kakaunting tao na nakaakyat sa lahat ng tinaguriang 8,000ers o ang 14 na bundok na kinikilala ng International Mountaineering and Climbing Federation bilang may taas na higit sa 8,000 metro mula sa karagatan. Si Sherpa na nagsimulang umakyat ng mga matataas na bundok sa edad na 16 ay nakapagtapos ng lahat ng 8,000ers sa loob ng 740 araw lamang.
Inanunsyo na ni Rafael Nadal ang kanyang planong pagre-retiro mula sa kanyang karera sa larangan ng professional tennis.
Hola a todos, estoy aquí para comunicaros que me retiro del tenis profesional. La realidad es que han sido unos años difíciles, estos dos últimos especialmente.
Sabi ni Nadal, intensyon niyang maging representante ng Spain sa Davis Cup, ngunit itong kanyang magiging huling torneo bago siya magretiro sa paglalaro. Ang 38 taong gulang na Espanyol ay magtatapos ng may 22 Grand Slam titles, pangalawa lamang sa 24 na kampyonato ni Novak Djokovic. Siya ang tumatayong pinakabatang Davis Cup champion kung saan napanalunan niya ito kalaban si Andy Roddick sa edad na 18 lamang. Napanalunan naman niya ang una niyang Grand Slam title sa Roland Garros of French Open noong taong 2005 nung siya ay 19 years old lamang nang makalaro niya ang naging matagal niyang karibal na si Roger Federer. Siya ang kasalukuyang naghahawak ng record para sa pinakamaraming napanalunang French Open titles sa bilang na 14 na lampas doble sa 6 na titulo ng unang manlalaro na naghawak ng record na si Bjorn Borg. Dahil dito ay binansagan siyang King of Clay ng kapwa niya manlalaro at kanyang mga tagahanga. Siya rin ang tumatayong most winningest player na Grand Slam dahil sa kanyang 112 win to 4 loss record sa Roland Garros. Matapos ang Davis Cup ay tanging si Novak Djokovic na lamang ang matitira sa tinaguriang Big Three na open era of tennis matapos maunang magretiro si Roger Federer 2 taon na ang nakalilipas.
Creo que no he sido capaz de jugar sin limitaciones. Es una decisión que evidentemente es difícil, que me ha llevado tiempo tomarla, pero en esta vida pues todo tiene un principio y un final y creo que es el momento adecuado para poner punto y final a lo que ha sido una carrera larga y mucho más exitosa de lo que jamás me hubiera podido imaginar. Pero me hace muchísima ilusión que mi último torneo sea la final de la Copa Davis y representando a mi país. Creo que es cerrar el círculo, ya que una de mis primeras grandes alegrías como tenista profesional pues fue la final de Sevilla en 2004.
Nagpaabot ngayon ng tulong ang ilan sa mga artists na gaya ni Taylor Swift para sa mga taong naapektuhan ng Hurricane Helene at Milton. Nagbigay si Swift ng donasyon sa hunger relief efforts na nagkakahalaga ng $5 milyong. Kasunod nito ay nagpasalamat ang CEO ng Feeding America sa singer bilang bahagi ng kanilang hakbang na labanan ang gutom sa mga komunidad. Nakiisa rin sa pagtulong ang mga artists na sina Keith Urban, Luke Combs at Eric Church sa pamamagitan ng paglulunsad ng Concert for Carolina benefit sa October 26. Dagdag pa rito ang country singer na si Morgan Wallen na tumulong naman sa pagkuha ng mga supplies. Nauna namang magbigay ng $500,000 sa American Red Cross for hurricane relief. Kasama rin dito ang country superstar na si Dolly Parton na nagbigay naman ng $1 milyong na donasyon. Samantala, matapos tumama ng bagyong Helene na nag-iwan ng matinding pinsala, ay kasalukuyan naman silang nakabantay sa pinsalang ihahatid ng bagyong Milton.
Inakusahan ng mga abogado ni Sean Diddy Combs na nilik umano ng gobyerno ang video footage ng pananakit nito sa dating kasintahan na si Cassie Ventura. Iginiit ng mga ito sa pagdinig ng kaso ni Combs na mapawalang bisa ang paggamit ng hotel surveillance footage kung mapatutunayan ng gobyerno ang naglabas nito. Naniniwala silang isa ito sa hakbang nilang siguraduhin na hindi maiwasan at watakasan ni Combs ang paglilitis. Makikita sa video ang paghila at pagsipa ni Combs kay Cassie na siyang malinaw na nagpapakita ng pisikal na pang-aabuso. Nahaharap ito ngayon sa mga kasong physical, sexual violence at sex trafficking na una nang inihain sa kanya noong September. Samantala, patuloy naman ang isinasagawang pagdinig sa patong-patong na kaso ni Combs na ilang beses namang hindi pinayagan na makapagpiyansa sa mga ito.
Inanunsyo na ngayon ang nakatakdang tema at ibang detalye ng co-chair sa gaganaping Met Gala 2025. Ayon sa inilabas na impormasyon ay super fine tailoring black style ang nakatakdang tema ng Met Gala na gaganapin sa May 5, 2025. Nagmula ang inspirasyon nito sa 2009 book ni Monica L. Miller kung saan tampok ang slaves to fashion, black dandyism, and the styling of black diasporic identity. Kasama rin sa plano ang paglalatag ng exhibit na naglalaman o maglalaman naman ng mga garments, paintings, photographs at iba pang mga bagay na may kaugnayan sa dandyism. Bibida rin ang natatanging style ng black men sa konteksto ng dandyism noon at diskriminasyon na mayroon ito sa fashion noon hanggang sa kasalukuyan. Nakilala naman ang dandyism bilang menswear style na sumisimbolo sa refinement at elegance mula sa Europe at Africa. Samantala, napili naman bilang co-chairs ng event si Coleman Domingo, Lewis Hamilton, LeBron James at Pharrell Williams kung saan ay makakasama nila ang editor-in-chief ng Vogue na si Anna Wintour. Matatandaan naman itong 2024 Met Gala ay naging co-chairs si Bad Bunny at Jennifer Lopez na may temang Sleeping Beauties, Reawakening Fashion and the Whimsical. Nanalo ngayon ang mga scientists na sina David Baker, James Hasabi sa John Jumper ng 2024 Nobel Prize in Chemistry. Bumida ang tatlo mula sa mga gawa nila na may kinalaman sa ambag ng structure of protein sa chemistry. Bukod sa natatanging award ay makatatanggap rin ang tatlo ng cash prize na nagkakahalaga ng $1.1 million. Kalahati ng pera ay mapupunta kay Baker dahil sa pag-aaral niya para sa computational protein design, habang dalawa naman para sa kalahati nito. Kinilala naman si Hasabi at Jumper mula sa ambag at pag-aaral nila sa protein structure prediction.
Naibalik na po sa tunay na may-ari ngayon ang isang Monet pastel painting matapos ang 84 na taong paghahanap para dito. Kinilala ang painting na Boxmar na nagmula naman noong 1865 kung saan tampok ang scenery mula sa France's Normandy shoreline. Nakuha na ang painting ng mga apo ni Parlagi sa tulong ito ay matapos matagpuan sa US ng FBI. Nagsimula ang maging bahagi ng paghahanap ang FBI noong taong 2021 dahil sa isang impormasyon na ito ay naibenta taong 2019 sa isang private collector. Babala nila ay maging maingat sa pagbili ng mga paintings kung saan ang ilan sa mga ito ay pinaghahanap ng mga tunay na may-ari. Samantala, pinaghahanap pa rin ng pamilya ng Parlagi ang 6 na iba pang artworks na nawawala kung saan kabilang ang watercolor stand in Paris ni Paul Signac. Ayan, Nina.
Painting na.
Painting eh.
So, parang nalala ko, Monet yan. 84 years na hinahanap, finally nag-appear. Minsan parang it puzzles us kung paanong nawawala ng ganong katagal. Tapos itong, just this year, di ba, ang daming mga nagre-resurface na mga mahal na mga paintings na yung isa iniwan lang sa labas ng bahay nung isang hinahanap niya talaga yung piece na yun. Yung isa nasa may train station. Pero these are very, very precious pieces.
Yes,
So,
and of course.
makes you wonder.
Saka napakahalaga niyan for the history of every nation. Kaya talaga namang, Nina, bantayan mo maigi mga paintings mo.
Ito na nga eh. Itatago ko na. Nako.
Ilalak ko na yan. Pero pahingi mo na ng isa.
Ipalalamove ko na ba sa'yo?
Pwede. Nako, habang inihintay po natin na talaga ma-deliver yung painting ni Miss Nina, tandaan, narito kami para maghatid ng balita saan mang dako ng mundo. Muli ako po si Ricky Matay.
Ako si Nina Richie Alago Flores. Ito ang Mata ng Agila International. Para naman sa mga balitang nangyari sa iba't ibang panig ng mundo, punta naman tayo kay Alma Angeles para sa Mata ng Agila World News. Take it away, Alma.
Thank you, Nina and Ricky. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alma Angeles for NET25 World News. On tonight's headlines. Tonight, Hurricane Milton makes landfall, slamming Florida with dangerous winds and life-threatening storm surge following an afternoon tornado outbreak.
In many parts of Florida, you probably could still go to a shelter, but you're starting to see major weather events happen. I know there were some tornadoes, massive tornadoes. I mean, just these like unbelievable tornadoes.
It's looking like the storm of the century. But I urge everyone in Hurricane Milton's path to follow all safety instructions as we head to the next 24 hours.
The news starts now. What happens when two hurricanes hit the same state within weeks of each other? Florida is finding out right now as Hurricane Milton unleashes its fury across the Sunshine State. Just 2 weeks after Hurricane Helene's devastating impact, could Florida handle another major storm? And tonight we're getting our answer, and it's a frightening one. Hurricane Milton has made landfall and the numbers are staggering. Nearly 2 million people without power. A quarter of the state's gas stations running dry. And at least 19 tornadoes touching down. And tragically, some lives already lost. But what makes the storm particularly dangerous?
Milton, a powerful hurricane with maximum sustained winds of around 120 miles per hour, currently situated about 60 miles to the west-southwest of Sarasota, moving off to the northeast at 17 miles per hour, so rapidly approaching the coastline of the west central Florida peninsula. You can see from the radar here a tremendous amount of rain spreading across the central and northern portions of Florida, heavy rainfall, flash flooding. We've had multiple tornado warnings across central and south Florida today, and that danger will continue into tonight.
But here's the question. Could Tampa Bay, once thought to be in the bullseye, dodge a bullet? But it's not just hurricane-force winds and storm surge threatening Floridians. What happens when a hurricane spawns multiple tornadoes?
In many parts of Florida, you probably could still go to a shelter, but you're starting to see major weather events happen. I know there were some tornadoes, massive tornadoes. I mean, just these like unbelievable tornadoes that you're seeing. So the hazards are increasing. Depending where you are, it may not be safe, certainly, to get on the interstate at this point, but listen to your local officials. But if it is still safe and you can get out of the evacuation zones, you just go to local shelter in your county. You don't even need to get on the interstate or doing that. And we still have a lot of space in our shelters around the state.
Fort Pierce found out the hard way. 125 homes destroyed, mostly mobile homes, a retirement community devastated, and 17 tornadoes in one county alone.
Yeah, it was windy, probably for a good 15 minutes beforehand. And then it just got really bad. It kept getting called, tornado warning. And then like this happened like instantaneously. Like these windows blew out. I was about probably right here when it happened. My cat over there on the desk, I grabbed the two dogs and like run under my bed. But that was it. Probably 1 minute total. Probably less.
How much rain can a city handle? St. Petersburg has already seen over 16 inches, and it's not over yet. A flash flood emergency is in effect for the entire Tampa Bay area.
There's still going to be damage. I know they keep saying like Milton is weakened to a Category 4, and Milton is probably going to keep weakening throughout the day as it heads towards the coast. And yes, that is good news, but the issue is that Milton still has that high Category 5 storm surge. So even if it weakens, yes, we'll see less impacts from the wind, which will probably lessen the impacts inland. We're still going to see that huge storm surge on the coast.
Storm surge is one of the biggest risks that we have with hurricanes. And that's when the water piles onto the land and it's swept on with the very strong winds, and also the low pressure lifts the ocean up as well. And it can sweep quite a long way onto the land, particularly when we've got high tide. That can be very dangerous. People think about hurricanes and they think about the very strong winds, and that is, of course, dangerous, as are tornadoes. But the storm surge itself can sweep inland and flood people to a very great depth. People don't realize the risk they're in. It can pick up debris that has been lying around because of those strong winds. And sadly, lots of people die because of storm surge because they don't understand the risk they're in. It's really difficult to measure rainfall on the ground in these really big, strong storms, and often our observations, our equipment on the ground is completely overwhelmed. But what we have seen is some very high rainfall totals already, and that's on top of already wet ground, very, very wet already. So there's nowhere for that rain to go apart from to flood people.
With Florida still reeling from Hurricane Helene, how will this double blow affect recovery efforts?
And the administrator of FEMA will be on site tonight in Florida and the state's Emergency Operations Center. Both Administrator Criswell and I will be in constant contact with state and local officials in the hours ahead.
But the question remains, can the state handle two major recovery operations simultaneously?
I want the people to hear it from me directly. FEMA is ready. Our agency is postured to respond to this storm and help the state of Florida. And I have been providing regular updates to President Biden and Vice President Harris.
And as Milton crosses Florida tonight, what's next? The storm is expected to emerge into the Atlantic, still as a hurricane. And millions of evacuees wait to return home. The full extent of damage remains unknown. At a White House briefing, President Joe Biden urged Florida residents to follow local safety guidelines, and he also warned against spreading disinformation about the storm and accused his predecessor of lying about the ongoing relief efforts following Hurricane Helene.
Assertions have been made that property is being confiscated. That's simply not true. They're saying the money is needed for this crisis is being diverted to migrants. What a ridiculous thing to say. It's not true. Now the claims are getting even more bizarre. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, a congresswoman from Georgia, is now saying the federal government is literally controlling the weather. We're controlling the weather. It's beyond ridiculous. It's got to stop.
And here's the latest from the ASEAN Summit in Laos, where regional leaders are focused on strengthening ties and addressing pressing issues. ASEAN leaders met with South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol in Vientiane to discuss elevating their 35-year partnership to a comprehensive strategic alliance aimed at boosting trade and cultural exchanges. Laotian Prime Minister Sanaksay Sifandone highlighted the mutual benefits of the long-standing relationship, while President Yoon affirmed that this upgrade would enhance cooperation significantly.
การพัวพันอาเซียน2เกาหลีเป็นการพัวพันที่สำคัญมีความหมายมีเนื้อในและต่างฝ่ายต่างได้รับผลประโยชน์ซึ่งนะครับการเสริมขยายอย่างต่อเนื่องกวมเอา3เสาค้ำของประชาคมอาเซียนคือการเมืองความมั่นคงเศรษฐกิจและวัฒนธรรมสังคมและได้ถือยกระดับเป็นคู่ร่วมมือหอบด้านในปี2004ซึ่งเป็นปีที่สปป.ลาวเป็นประธานอาเซียนครั้งทวิตและถือยกระดับเป็นคู่ร่วมยุทธศาสตร์ในปี2010
오늘 한국과 아세안은 협력을 한층 도약시키기 위해 포괄적 전략 동반자 관계를 수립합니다.
Meanwhile, President Marcos Jr. addressed the ongoing political crisis in Myanmar during the ASEAN gatherings, emphasizing the need for new strategies despite the 5-point consensus established in 2021.
The position of the Philippines is still remains the same. We are firmly behind the ASEAN proposal of the five points of consensus. And we are trying to find ways to move forward because we have to admit that although the 5 points have been out there since Brunei, we have not been very successful in actually changing the situation. So we are trying to formulate new strategies to...
The 5PC aims to an immediate cessation of violence, constructive dialogue, humanitarian assistance, and the appointment of a special envoy for mediation. In another development, Chinese Premier Li Chang announced that ASEAN and China have made substantial headway in upgrading the ASEAN-China Free Trade Area, or ACFTA, to 3.0. Prime Minister Sun Yat-sen revealed that the agreement is expected to be finalized by 2025, with a focus on enhancing economic ties and market integration. Premier Li underscored the importance of these markets, which together account for over 2 billion people.
今天啊，我很高兴地同东盟的各国领导人共同宣布，中国东盟自贸区 3.0 版升级谈判实质性结束。这一重要成果，为我们共同建设 超大规模的市场提供了制度性的保障，是我们共同引领东亚经济一体化的重大举措。这也表明我们坚定支持多边主义和自由贸易的鲜明态度。
When we think of overseas military bases, one country dominates the landscape, and that is the United States, with its vast network of approximately 750 installations worldwide. This extensive presence serves a dual purpose, protecting American interests while enabling rapid global response capabilities. But now a new player is eyeing similar strategic advantage. Now, China, America's primary rival, is expanding its military footprint beyond its sole official overseas base in Djibouti. Unlike Djibouti, where multiple nations maintain facilities, China appears to be seeking exclusive access elsewhere, particularly in Cambodia's Rim Naval Base. Located in southern Cambodia on the Gulf of Thailand, the Rim Naval Base, has undergone a dramatic transformation until 2017. It was developed with U.S. assistance. Then came the switch. Cambodia turned to China. By 2020, American-built structures were being demolished. And today, the base features appear large enough for an aircraft carrier, raising eyebrows given Cambodia's modest naval fleet. And despite these assurances, recent developments tell a different story. 2 Chinese Type 056 corvettes have been stationed at the base since December. A U.S. Defense attaché was denied full access during a 2021 visit, and Chinese-funded upgrades replaced U.S.-built facilities.
During the special summit, U.S.-ASEAN Special Summit, which I had the honor to participate with our Prime Minister, I sat right behind him. President Biden was there. All the head of state, head of government of ASEAN was there also. Our Prime Minister again volunteered. Mr. President, I just want to reassure you that Rim Naval Base is not for the Chinese. What else can we do? Now, he said publicly in Cambodia, he said publicly in the U.S.-ASEAN Special Summit here in Washington. So let's wait when this completed, the Rim Naval Base is completed, and the U.S. Navy said, look, I'd like to call on a port, for humanitarian, for training.
The base's location is also crucial. It provides direct access to the South China Sea, where tensions between China and the Philippines continue to escalate. In a potential conflict, control of the Rim base could allow China to first monitor maritime traffic through the vital Malacca Strait, second, project power into the South China Sea, and third, potentially blockade key shipping lanes. While Cambodia's constitution prohibits foreign military bases on its soil, the extended presence of Chinese vessels creates a de facto permanent presence, a potential loophole in the law.
If you said no, we allow the Chinese, then you tell, you've been lying to us. Oh, we've been lying to our people because we go against our constitution. So wait until then. Wait until it's completed and ask to see whether we allow the U.S. Navy to call on the port. But make sure you bring the small one because the water is very shallow. You might get stuck there. People say, oh, you're going to have, submarine, the submarine. I'm telling you right now, the draft by 3 meters. Now we just dredge it probably 6 or 7 meters. So bring a small one. You bring a big one, you get stuck there. I can tell you that.
The question remains, will the Rim Naval Base become China's next overseas military outpost? A tense situation in the South China Sea took center stage at today's ASEAN summit in Laos. Philippine President Marcos Jr. made an urgent appeal for progress on the regional code of conduct while accusing China of harassment. It was a forceful message from the Philippine president to his Southeast Asian counterparts and Chinese Premier Li Qiang. There should be more urgency in the pace of the negotiations of the ASEAN-China Code of Conduct, according to Marcos. Now, Marcos didn't mince words about the current situation. He said it's regrettable that the overall situation in the South China Sea remains tense and unchanged. He said we continue to be subjected to harassment and intimidation. The calls come amid escalating tensions between Manila and Beijing. Recent confrontations near disputed features have raised concerns of potential escalation, one that could eventually involve the U.S., bound by a 1951 defense treaty with the Philippines. The proposed Code of Conduct has been in discussion for over 2 decades, and ASEAN Secretary General Kao Kim Horn insists there is movement. In fact, he said, it's not static, it's not a standstill. But President Marcos expressed frustration at the slow pace, noting parties can't even agree on basic concepts. He said, quote, the definition of a concept is as basic as self-restraint does not yet enjoy consensus. As discussions continue here in Laos, the challenge remains finding common ground in these contested waters. What happens when a small island democracy faces off against one of the world's superpowers? How do you assert your independence while avoiding conflict? Well, today, Taiwan's President Lai Ching-te may have given us a masterclass in diplomatic tightrope walking. But first, let's consider the stakes. What makes Taiwan so significant on the global stage? Taiwan, an island of 23 million people, finds itself at the center of perhaps the world's most dangerous geopolitical standoff. But why is China so focused on this democratic island? And what message is Taiwan's new president sending to Beijing? Standing outside the presidential office in Taipei, President Lai Ching-te made a declaration that is sure to ruffle feathers in Beijing.
The Republic of China has already put down roots in Taiwan, Penghu, Kinmen, and Matsu, and it is not subordinate to the People's Republic of China. On this land, democracy and freedom are growing and thriving. The People's Republic of China has no right to represent Taiwan. The 23 million people of Taiwan, now more than ever, must reach out our branches to embrace the future.
Now, strong words, but what came next might surprise you. Could this be a new approach to cross-strait relations? But here's the question on everyone's asking. Can you really have it both ways?
台湾有决心致力维护台海的和平稳定，成就全球的安全和繁荣，也愿意和中国共同应对气候变迁、防堵传染病。 以及维护区域安全，追求和平共荣，为两岸人民带来福祉。
As the dust settles on this speech, the burning questions remain. Will China respond with more military drills? And perhaps most importantly, what role will the U.S. play in this high-stakes game of geopolitical chess? And the news continues here on NET25 World News. We'll be right back.
Ang mga maiinit na balita at rumaratsyad ang usapan ng bayan, ihahatid namin sa 100%! 100% ang pagbabalita! 100% talakayan! Lunes hanggang Biyernes! Alas 5 hanggang alas 7 ng umaga! Live na live sa Radyo Agila 1062 Mega Manila! At sa NET25 100%!
Sa NET25, let's get together. Sa NET25.
Tensions along the Israel-Lebanon border have reached a boiling point as fierce clashes between Israeli forces and Hezbollah militants continue to escalate. In the latest round of violence, Israeli airstrikes reduced parts of Beirut to rubble, while Hezbollah responded with artillery and rocket fire, targeting Israeli troops near the border.
Smoke rose over Lebanon on Wednesday as the cross-border conflict between Hezbollah militants and Israel continued. Sirens sounded as Israel's overnight airstrikes on Lebanon's Beirut reduced some buildings to rubble, while explosions rang out in a southern Lebanese town. Meanwhile, Hezbollah said it targeted Israeli troops near the border with artillery shells and rockets. The Iran-backed movement, which had been launching rockets against Israel in solidarity with Gaza, said it pushed Israeli troops back and managed to prevent them from holding territory in Lebanon. The conflict has escalated dramatically in recent weeks. Israel has carried out a series of assassinations of top Hezbollah leaders, and after launching ground operations, Israeli troops are now clashing with militants on the ground.
You saw the strikes that Iran launched against us a short time ago. Those strikes were aggressive, but they failed because they weren't accurate. Just as we have been doing until now in the war on all other fronts, whoever attacks us will be hurt and will pay a price. Our attack will be deadly, precise, and above all, surprising. They will not understand what happened or how it happened. They will see the results.
It's raised fears that both Iran and Israel's superpower ally, the US, could be sucked into the conflict.
If Hezbollah wants the situation to de-escalate, it's very simple. They have to do two things. First, they must immediately stop shelling our civilian communities. Second, Hezbollah must withdraw to the north of the Litani River in accordance with UN Resolution 1701, was adopted here in the Security Council in 2006. Until that happens, Israel will continue our operations to degrade Hezbollah's terror network.
Israel's bombardment of Lebanon has killed more than 2,100 people, most of them in the last 2 weeks. It has forced 1.2 million people from their homes. Israel says it has no choice but to strike Hezbollah so that tens of thousands of Israelis can return to homes they fled under rocket fire.
Boeing is facing a major challenge as striking workers stand firm with no end in sight to the stalemate. The union representing them has made its position clear, even as the company grapples with mounting financial pressures.
Striking workers at Boeing are in it for the long haul. That was what union negotiator John Holden told Reuters on Wednesday. He says union members understand the position and are ready to wait out the plane maker. The comments come a day after Boeing withdrew its latest pay offer. It accused the union of not giving its proposals serious consideration. But Holden said the improvements in the offer were very minor, very meagre. The union is holding out for a 40% pay rise over 4 years. Members previously voted overwhelmingly to reject an offer of 25%. Holden says the union has a big fund to support striking workers, and he's hoping Boeing will blink first. Even before the strike, the firm was burning through cash amid curbs on production of its best-selling 737 MAX jets. That follows a mid-air blowout on one of the planes that revived concerns over the company's manufacturing standards. Now ratings agency S&P estimates the walkout is costing Boeing about $1 billion per month, and it says the strike could cost it its prized investment-grade credit rating. The company is looking at ways to shore up its finances, with Reuters reporting that that could include selling stock. Boeing has also furloughed thousands of workers in a bid to cap costs. Shares in the firm closed down 3.4% Wednesday, and have lost over 40% of their value just this year.
And finally, in a remarkable story of persistence and justice, a Nazi-looted Claude Monet artwork has finally been returned to its rightful owners after more than 80 years. As Ann Weber from the Commission for Looted Art in Europe explains, the story begins in 1938 in Vienna.
And so this case was a case of a family who came to us in 2014. And the story of the family is that they lived in Vienna, and in 1938, in March 1938, the Anschluss, or the annexation, or the joining of Austria with Germany came about. And it was very dangerous, of course, for anybody who was Jewish to be there. And this family, they fled a month later. They left immediately, and they left absolutely everything behind.
The family, Adalbert Bella and Hilda Parlagi, attempted to have their belongings shipped to London. However, as Weber details, the Nazis had other plans.
Everything that the family had, from tables and chairs to books, they had a huge library of books, to quite a number of lovely pictures, was sold at the Dorotheum auction house in Vienna in 1941 and 1942. And amongst them was the picture, the Monet, that is going to be returned to the family.
For decades, Bella searched tirelessly for his lost art, a quest continued by his son until his death in 2012. And the breakthrough came in 2019.
And then in 2019, we're always searching everywhere. We never give up looking. It's the one thing about this work. You have to be very persistent. And we then found in 2019 that it had been advertised for sale in a gallery in New Orleans.
The FBI's involvement led to the recovery of the painting, a 7-by-11-inch pastel called Bord de Mer, dating back to 1865. Today, it was finally returned to Parlagi's granddaughters.
So we contacted the FBI, and they have been remarkable. And we gave them extensive dossier of information about the painting and the history of what had happened. And they investigated it all. And as a result of which, on Wednesday, they will be returning the painting to the two granddaughters who never thought this day would ever come.
While the story has a happy ending, Weber notes that countless other stolen artworks remain missing.
90% of what you're looking for still can't be found. So there is a lot still out there. There is a lot still out there to be found and to be returned.
The Parlagi family continues to search for 6 other missing artworks, including a signed watercolor by Paul Signac. The FBI's investigation remains ongoing. And with that, we end tonight's broadcast. For everyone here on NET25, I'm Alma Angeles. Thank you all for joining us. We'll see you back tomorrow. Good night.